to my second video, and I will be continuing the first part of why The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is an underrated film. To continue where I left off, I was covering the emotional moments of the film. The last few emotional moments that I'd like to talk about include Gwen's death, her speech, and the ending of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Gwen's death is incredibly emotional, and when I got to see the film again in theaters, when it was being replayed for the anniversary of Columbia Pictures, I believe, it hit different watching it in theaters rather than just watching it in the comfort of your own home, because you get to see everything on a giant screen, everything's playing much louder than you would at home. Obviously, because it's a theater, but it's sad because when we see the slow motion, we see his web that he shoots out to where it looks like a hand trying to grab her to save her, of course. And we just, even though he wears a mask, we can kind of imagine what he's going through in his mind and through his facial expressions. The fact that he's possibly going to lose a woman that he loves, a woman that he cherishes, someone that he promised to keep safe. And he's watching this all happen in one moment, and we just see Gwen accept that she's going to die. That they both know that she won't make it. And then we hear the echoing as her head hits the floor of the clock tower. As he drops down, takes off his mask, and he just holds her. He begins to cry, and he begins to beg her to wake up. And he's concerned, he's scared, he's confused, because he's used to saving everyone. He doesn't know how to react, how to think, and he just can't believe it. He doesn't want to believe it. He just wants her to continue to be there for him. He wants to be there for her, but in that moment he couldn't, because he couldn't save her. And so we're given her funeral, in which he just flashes moments of him just staying there, just overwatching her grave, overlooking it. Then we also have Gwen's ceremony speech, which was given when she graduated from high school to move on to college. It's when she got her diploma, obviously, so she could then later on apply for, I believe, Yale in Europe. And that speech really just feels different, and it feels special, it feels nice. It's a very well-written speech that Emma Stone wrote herself for Gwen the character. It's very fantastic. I love the speech very much. It actually gave me the courage to ask a girl out to be my girlfriend. And yeah, I mean, it's a very awe-inspiring speech. It gives people, in my opinion, motivation. I just kind of wish that maybe we got in more speeches like that. The final moment I want to cover is the ending of the film. This doesn't really, in my opinion, show much of an emotional moment. Rather, it just shows a moment of who Spider-Man is and what he does to others. The resemblance of a hero, if you will. But at the end of the film, a brave boy goes up to stand against a mechanized rhino, and it shows how Spider-Man instills bravery and hope in others. And when Spider-Man eventually does arrive to save everyone from the mechanized rhino, the boy tells him, "I knew you'd come back." He tells it in such a hopeful tone, and it just shows the embodiment of a hero, to give others hope. That Spider-Man, along with all other heroes, are meant to be beacons of hope, to show us what's right, to instill us the willingness to endure, and to preserve what it means to be human. And this iteration of Spider-Man, in my opinion, just tries to show us how inspiring he is, to show us how good he is, to show us the humanity of being a hero, to show us the flaws and failures. The producer who made the soundtrack for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was none other than the amazing Hans Zimmer. Or Hans, I'm not really sure which, and I'm pretty sure that I'm pronouncing it wrong either way. And I'm pretty sure that most people know who he is. I mean, he's made the soundtrack for infamous films such as Interstellar and the Dark Knight trilogy. But he's also one of the greatest composers to just ever make music, alongside John Williams. However, that might be my personal bias because I love Star Wars. Now, I haven't listened to the full soundtrack for The Amazing Spider-Man 2, so I can't exactly speak for every song, but I will only mention the 4 that I listen to frequently. And the first theme I'd like to talk about is just literally called I'm Spider-Man. It only lasts a minute and 1 second, but I still enjoy it, mostly because it starts with police sirens, the sounds of New York, and then it moves on to more triumphant fanfare of Spider-Man's theme, You feel the sense of heroism just by listening to it, and you get the sense of feeling that, he's just in New York swinging. And I listened to this theme a lot whenever I played the Spider-Man 2 game, when I used the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, mostly because it just fits very well, and I kind of enjoy it. The next theme I want to cover is Electro's suit, or suite. I don't really know what to say here, but it's also known as orchestral dubstep. This theme really tells the story of Max Dillon, who is an insecure loner with no friends, a man who literally fantasizes his own heroes talking to him in a reassuring manner, and the theme just emphasizes the loneliness that he feels and his powerlessness, the fact that he just doesn't have any control. And as the theme goes on, we hear the massive electrical chords that are just striking. You can feel the power within them. And as time goes on within the film, we get to see that Max Dillon is no longer Max Dillon, and he has become Electro. And the nature of the song goes well beyond what you would think, as the little vocals in the back describe his emotions, describe his mental state, describing his insecurities, and it makes the song even better, and it just improves it so much. The next song I'd like to go over is called You're That Spider Guy. This song plays at the end of the film as the triumphant theme plays when Spider-Man comes back. First and foremost, this theme begins to play when when Peter Parker plays the tape that Gwen gave him to show him her indoctrination speech. And the speech goes on to tell him about hope, blah blah blah. I kind of already covered the speech already. And yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to cover for this. And then next, as it moves up and up and up in terms of musicality, we go on to the end credit themes, and where it finally plays my favorite song of the film, It's On Again, which I just really think it's an absolute banger of a song, and it's a great way to end a movie in my opinion. And I just think this film is really underrated and should be more appreciated in my personal opinion. Overall, despite the fact of the matter, this film is a mess. Hands down. I can't say this is the best Spider-Man film, but I refuse to say it's the worst film made, Sony actually did hit the marks with this film in some terms. And I don't think this is the worst Spider-Man film of all time. I don't really think that there is going to be exactly a worst film. But through and through, this film will hold a special place in my heart. It gave me courage to do some things in life, and it's the Spider-Man that I grew up with, so it's kind of like nostalgic for me. It's the Spider-Man film that shocked me, that confused me, that dumbfounded me. And the message of this film is also pretty important too. I mean, after all, the message, if you actually pay attention to the film, it's showcasing that Peter can't accept things because he has abandonment issues. I mean, his parents walked out of his life as a child, and as a teenager, he lost his girlfriend, and he refused to accept it. He still wanted to see her, he still wanted to find more things about his parents, but in reality, he just couldn't accept it until the end of the movie. And he couldn't accept it because he's afraid to lose things. And can you blame him? I mean, how many of you would be afraid to lose your parents, your grandparents, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your pets, anything, anyone? It's haunting, isn't it? And this film, I feel like, tries to teach you that it's important to accept things and to move on with life. If you let the past haunt you, you can't move forward. You're stuck in the same place and you're doing the same thing. And eventually you actually have to realize that your future is far more important than your past. You can control what happens to a degree, and you can decide and you can make your choices. If you accept the past, you can accept the challenges and learn to grow. And I feel like that's the beautiful thing about this film. It's to accept failure, to accept what has happened.